13 signs your aura is so powerful. It can disturb others when your aura unsettles. Others, have you ever felt the room shift the moment you entered? Before a single word escapes your lips, your energy speaks for you. It reveals your inner harmony or your inner conflict. In this video, we dive into how mastering your emotions and living in true alignment with your authentic self creates a magnetic field around you. Your silent presence can calm a storm, challenge illusions, and even awaken dormant souls without ever needing to explain yourself. We explore the psychology behind this phenomenon through the lens of Carl Jung's insights into energy, the shadow, and the true self. If you've ever sensed you don't belong among superficial noise or felt exhausted by small talk, this journey will remind you your silent truth is not a weakness. It's your greatest power. Stay with us and discover how to let your presence speak louder than words. When your energy speaks, before you do, have you ever walked into a room and sensed a shift in the air before a single word was spoken? That is no coincidence. It is a sign that your energy has arrived before your physical body. This energetic field, Carl Jung called the self, the true center of the soul, where the ego and the deeper essence meet. When you live in harmony between thought, emotion, and action, your aura is no longer invisible. It becomes a living entity, stirring the space, touching the deepest layers of the collective unconscious. A person who has mastered their inner emotions, who is rooted in authentic values, naturally carries a magnetic pull without needing to justify it. The external world may be chaotic, but within you, everything is ordered by its own rhythm, and it is precisely that stillness, that quiet internal power without display, that others can feel, even if they cannot yet name it. Mastering your energy is not just a form of protection. It is the foundation for a life with less anxiety, less confusion, and clearer, more decisive choices. It is the moment when your mere existence compels the world to listen. Even before you speak a word, when your silent presence captures the room, some people enter a place and almost dissolve into the crowd, but there are others who, without speaking a word, seem to shift the very breath of the room. They do not need to act grandly or loudly. Their silent presence itself exerts an invisible but powerful force. Carl Jung once said, "The psyche transcends the body." When your soul reaches a state of alignment, when what you think, feel, and do are unified, you become a unique frequency. A completeness radiates from you without explanation, and others can feel it, not with their eyes, not with their ears, but through subtle shifts in the very energy field around them. This presence cannot be trained through outer techniques or superficial manners. It comes from mastering your inner emotions, no longer being tossed about by every ripple in the outside world. It comes from living with clear purpose, not to please others, but to fulfill what is true to your essence. And from there, anxiety and pressure no longer dominate. You stand freely, firmly, lightly, but with undeniable weight. Perhaps you have felt isolated because of this difference. But remember, truth always carries its own frequency when you maintain inner coherence. The outside world cannot dim you. Instead of striving for acceptance, you simply need to exist clearly, steadfastly, and serenely. Even in silence, you remain a reminder to those who have forgotten that they once possessed such a free and sovereign soul. When you cause others either to open up or withdraw, not everyone reacts the same way to your energy. Some, upon encountering the truth you carry, feel as if something inside them has been unlocked, as if the shell that confined them has cracked. They feel more open, more courageous, as though a light has been rekindled within. But others, when faced with your inner coherence, may feel confused, uncomfortable, even frightened. You do not need to do anything. Your pure, authentic presence naturally touches the hidden shadows that others are trying to deny. Carl Jung called this the reaction of the shadow. When someone has not yet confronted their own truth, they are threatened by those who dare to live authentically. If you do not understand this mechanism, you may easily fall into an emotional spiral, wondering why you are misunderstood, rejected, or even attacked, despite simply living in alignment with yourself. But when you master your emotions, you realize others' reactions say more about them than about you. Whether someone likes or dislikes you is not the measure of your worth. Your value lies in maintaining your inner coherence, no matter how the world responds. Thus, you stop seeking consensus. You stop being swayed by others' opinions. You choose to continue walking your path of values firmly, clearly, freely, without the anxiety of needing to please. For those who are truly ready, they will inevitably be drawn to the light you radiate. When animals, children, and nature respond to your truth, there are certain truths that do not need words to be recognized. Animals, children, and nature do not read your words. They read the energy field you carry. A dog, a child, or even a passing breeze can sense the authenticity beneath the social masks that adults often wear. If your inner world is full of tension and anxiety, no matter how brightly you smile, animals will sense the dissonance. A cat may withdraw, a dog may grow cautious. But if your inner world is peaceful, if you have mastered your emotions and no longer resist your natural flow, animals and children will naturally draw near. They need no reason, no analysis. They recognize the frequency of truth. Carl Jung stated, "The unconscious does not communicate through words. It communicates through symbols, emotions, and vibrations, and therefore, your inner coherence is the strongest message you send out into the world." You do not need to strive to be trusted when you live rooted in your true values. When you are no longer tossed by desires or fears, you find yourself recognized by nature, by animals, by pure souls, not through reason, but through a deep, silent recognition. In a world overwhelmed by noise and performance, your genuine presence becomes a silent language, a living message that says, there is another way to exist, not rushed, not performative, not false, simply present, clear, and free. And that quiet presence naturally soothes the anxieties and disturbances, pulling you back to the steady rhythm of true life. When your inner peace cracks the masks of others, you walk into a space with a quiet heart, peaceful eyes, carrying no intention to impose, and yet, without a word, you sense tension spreading, see avoiding glances, detect forced smiles. You have done nothing, yet your very presence seems to touch the fragile masks others are struggling to maintain. Your inner peace itself becomes a challenge to those still trapped in social performances. When someone is not living authentically, they are unsettled by encountering someone who is not because you are arrogant or seeking attention. It is because truth does not need to shout. It merely needs to be. And by being, it naturally exposes what is false. If you do not understand this dynamic, you might easily get pulled into a spiral of self-doubt, blaming yourself, shrinking yourself to avoid disturbing others. But if you master your emotions, if you remain steadfast in your authentic purpose, you will realize others' reactions are not your burden. You do not need to diminish yourself to make others comfortable. You need only continue living with clarity, freedom, and serenity. And it is precisely this unwavering coherence that serves as a silent invitation for those who are ready to step out from behind the masks they have worn for too long. When you enter and the room changes its rhythm. You do not need to try to draw attention, nor speak to prove your presence. The moment you step in, the air itself seems to shift. A delicate silence spreads. Eyes are unconsciously drawn to you. Conversations pause mid-sentence. This is not the power of flamboyance. It is the strength of an energetic field refined through experience. Through inner mastery, Carl Jung called it symbolic presence, a presence that awakens the deepest layers of the unconscious of those around you. When you master your emotions, when you live rooted in your authentic values, you not only stabilize yourself, you become an invisible anchor for the spaces you enter. Your internal clarity subtly reorganizes the chaos around you. Without any intention to do so, you do not need to strive to make an impression, nor seek to change the world. Simply maintaining an authentic presence is already a powerful act. It reduces unnecessary anxiety about how you should be under others' gaze. It allows you to choose inner quiet over external noise. And thus, each step you take is more than mere movement. It is a silent reminder that it is possible to live differently, to hold powerful presence without control, to transform a room simply by refusing to lose yourself. When your intuition reads what no one dares to speak, you walk into a room where everything seems normal, yet beneath the surface of smiles, handshakes, and polite conversation, you sense something stirring, unease, pretense, an invisible distance no one admits. This is not imagination, it is intuition, the silent language of a soul refined through stillness and deep self-awareness. Carl Jung said, "The unconscious speaks through symbols, emotions, and sensations." When you live closer to the self, having shed the emotional masks, you begin to perceive the world this way. You need no evidence, no explanations. You simply know, instinctively and clearly, what is true and what is just a facade. This ability is both a gift and a challenge. The deeper your sensitivity, the lonelier you may feel in a world addicted to pretense. But when you master your emotions, you learn not to be swept away by what you perceive. You maintain clarity, decisiveness, and choose to act from a place of inner stillness rather than react impulsively. Intuition becomes a compass, not a chain. You no longer suffer anxiety from sensing unpleasant truths. You no longer feel stressed by unspoken tensions. Instead, you remain clear, steady, and free as you move forward. When superficiality drains your soul, you have tried, you have smiled, nodded, blended into small talk about weather, news, and trivialities. Yet the more you tried, the more you felt yourself drifting away. A sense of exhaustion rises, not from others' words, but from the absence of truth in these exchanges. You were not born to fill empty spaces with meaningless noise. Your nature, the energy you carry, demands authentic presence. It demands conversations that touch not just the ear, but the soul. And when you force yourself to feign interest in the superficial, you feel as though you are betraying yourself. This does not mean you despise others. It simply reflects a deep awareness that your time, attention, and energy must be spent on what truly matters. When you live with purpose, when you master your emotions rather than seeking approval, you no longer feel the need to conform. You accept that not everyone can accompany you on this deeper journey, and that is not a loss. It is a natural purification. Fewer people, but truer connections, fewer conversations, but deeper ones. And through that, you free yourself from societal pressures, reduce unnecessary anxiety, and live in alignment with what truly nourishes your soul. When you unintentionally mirror the fears of others, you walk through this world carrying the authenticity you have painstakingly built. Yet soon you begin to notice strange looks, exaggerated reactions, and baseless rumors about yourself. People may admire you excessively or reject you for no apparent reason. It is not because you have done something wrong. It is because your very presence, your inner wholeness, has unintentionally become a mirror reflecting what others still hide within themselves. Carl Jung called this the projection of the shadow. When people cannot face parts of themselves, they project those parts onto others. If you do not understand this mechanism, you can easily be hurt. But when you master your emotions, when you stay rooted in your values and deeper purpose, you view these reactions with calm detachment. You no longer let others' misunderstandings dictate your emotional state. You no longer allow the emotional turbulence of the outside world to cloud your inner clarity. You recognize that what others project onto you is merely their own unprocessed inner battles. You choose not to react, not to defend, not to justify. Instead, you stay on your path, clear, decisive, gentle yet unshakable. And from there, you free yourself from unnecessary battles, leaving space in your soul for what truly deserves to be nurtured. When your silence speaks louder than words, there are moments when you do not need to say a word. The silence you carry is enough to shift the heartbeat of a room. In that silence, there is no coldness, no intention to dominate. It is simply a steady presence, a deep calmness born from mastering your inner world. In a society where people rush to fill every gap with noise, true silence becomes a rarity, even a quiet shock, because real silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. The fullness of a soul clear, steady, and no longer driven by the need for validation. Carl Jung once noted that true power does not lie in words, but in the frequency of presence. When you choose conscious silence, you send a powerful signal. You have nothing to prove, nothing to defend. You simply are, whole and free. When you understand the power of silence, you also learn to reduce anxiety and unnecessary stress. You stop wasting energy on pointless explanations. You allow inner clarity to guide you, rather than letting the world define your worth. Thus, even in your silence, you send a message. I am here, I am clear. I do not need to hide, nor do I need to flaunt. I choose to exist fully, as I am. When strangers confide secrets they've never spoken, how many times have you sat beside a stranger moments ago? Two separate worlds. And suddenly, they begin to tell you stories they have never shared, wounds, fears, forgotten dreams, pouring out as if they had long been waiting for a safe space to open. You do not have to ask. You do not have to coax. Your presence, silent, non-judgmental, without demand, naturally creates a space where truth can breathe. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious seeks expression, and when you have mastered your emotions, when you no longer cling to the need to control or fix others, you become the quiet vessel where others can lay down burdens they can no longer carry alone." Their opening up to you is no coincidence. It is a natural reaction to a clear, steady, purposeful energy anchored in authentic values, because deep inside, everyone, at some level, longs to be touched by truth, even if just for a fleeting moment. And there, you learn another profound lesson, that true strength lies not in trying to do something, but in being, in the ability to listen without trying to fix, to accept without demanding, to hold stillness without being pulled under. This is also how you lessen the pressure on yourself. Not every situation requires advice. Not every burden demands a solution. Sometimes, just being there, real, clear, and free, is enough for healing to begin. When your inner freedom becomes a challenge to the world, you do not need to shout in protest. You do not need to disrupt the system, merely living freely, without asking for permission, without pretending, is enough to make many around you uncomfortable deep down. True freedom is always a mirror that exposes the self-imposed cages others cling to. You are not provoking. You are not condemning. You are simply living in full alignment between what you think, feel, and do. And it is precisely that wholeness that becomes a silent threat to those still trapped by fear, clinging to safe but soul-crushing patterns. Carl Jung once said, "Freedom is frightening for those who still cling to their chains." When you liberate yourself from the need for approval, from the fear of rejection, you not only reduce your own anxiety and pressure, but you also create a powerful field of influence that forces others to question their own lives. However, to sustain this freedom, you need inner strength. You must master your emotions, remaining unmoved by others' discomfort or distancing. You must have a deep purpose guiding you, so that every step you take is not a reaction, but a conscious, clear, and deliberate choice. Inner freedom is not accidental. It is the fruit of a relentless journey back to yourself, where no one but you has the authority to decide who you will become. When your presence remains even after you've left, some people, when they leave a room, take everything with them. But there are others, like you, who leave behind something unseen yet undeniable, a silent imprint that continues to vibrate in the minds of those who stayed. Your presence is not merely physical, it is the crystallization of all your choices, steadfastness in your purpose, clarity in your values, serenity in your emotions, and uncompromising freedom in your spirit. These elements create a subtle but enduring energy field that touches even the deepest parts of those you meet, even if only for a fleeting moment. Carl Jung reminded us that true impact does not come from what you say, but from who you have become when you live with sincerity and internal unity. You leave behind a resonance in the world, not to be remembered, but simply because you were truly present. And it is this presence, built through inner mastery, through conscious choices rather than impulsive reactions, that ensures you endure in the memory of others. You no longer worry about being accepted. You no longer stress over making a lasting impression, because you understand true presence needs no noise. It needs only authenticity. And what is truly valuable always moves quietly, enduringly, like the lingering trail of a fallen star. When the light you radiate has been forged through the deepest darkness, many may see the peace, the confidence you radiate, and think it was gifted to you, but only you know. That light is no miracle. It is the result of silent journeys, of long nights facing your own darkness. You have passed through moments of doubt, collapse, and profound loneliness. You have faced your weakest parts, your deepest wounds, not by turning away, but by meeting them directly and through each encounter. You did more than survive. You were refined, clarified, strengthened. Carl Jung once wrote, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. You cannot truly shine unless you have descended into your own depths. And it is this journey that gives the energy you emit today its weight, its depth, its power to stir others without needing words. When you master your emotions in darkness, when you hold to your purpose even as everything crumbles, you build a foundation no storm can uproot. You learn to reduce anxiety not by avoidance, but by walking straight through your greatest fears. Thus, the light you carry is not superficial. It is a light that has been forged, that has endured trial, that has been broken and reborn, a light that, when others see it, they know it is possible to endure, to resurrect, to live fully again. Never dim your light to make others comfortable. There will be moments when you clearly sense the discomfort in others' eyes when they face you. You will see them tense, guard themselves, or even push you away, and there will be a part of you that feels tempted to shrink, to soften your radiance, to make your presence less threatening. But doing so would be a betrayal of yourself. You have endured too many nights, too many falls and resurrections, to become the authentic and free being you are today. The light you shine is not for seeking approval. It exists because you paid the price to find it. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The greatest privilege in life is not to be liked, but to live true to your being, without shrinking under judgment, without dimming under envy, without fading under fear. If you live with clear purpose, rooted in authentic values, you will understand. Your inner light is not meant to be validated by others. It is a commitment you made to yourself. It is the source of your freedom, your serenity, your clear and decisive actions. Therefore, when facing misunderstanding, alienation, or jealousy, do not let impulsive emotions drag you off course. Master those emotions. Remind yourself, you are not here to make others comfortable in their illusions. You are here to live, truly. And only by doing so can you genuinely inspire those who are courageous enough to begin their own journey toward their real selves. Mastering emotions. When you no longer react to every wave, the outer world will always shift. People will praise you, then turn away. They will understand you, then misunderstand you. The waves of emotion from the environment, from relationships, from unexpected events, they will never cease, but you do not have to drift with all of them. True maturity does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering yourself. Mastering emotions does not mean becoming cold or numb. It means allowing emotions to pass through you, without merging your identity with them. Carl Jung emphasized, emotion is the chief source of consciousness. Emotion is the energy that fuels awareness. But if you let emotions drive you, you will lose clarity. If you learn to recognize emotions without immediately reacting, you preserve your inner freedom. You do not need to suppress sadness, deny anger, or fake indifference, but you can choose to observe, to understand, and then to act from a calmer, more deliberate place. When you master your emotions, you are no longer easily manipulated. You no longer make hasty decisions to appease fleeting impulses. You act from purpose, from values, rather than from surface agitation. And the miracle is this: the more you master your emotions, the more you reduce your anxiety, because you know, no matter how violently the external world rages, the sky within you can remain clear. Final message: when you become the light the world has been searching for, if you have walked this entire path, you will realize strength does not lie in domination, nor in noise. True strength is built in the silence of the soul, in the moments when you dare to face yourself with no audience. The aura you radiate is not a facade for impressing others. It is the result of all the days you chose not to betray yourself, the times you refused to shrink just to make others more comfortable, the times you chose loneliness over, trading truth for acceptance. You do not need to try to shine. You are the light. Because you have walked through darkness, you are the living proof that one does not need to deny emotions to be strong, does not need to please the world to be free, does not need to flee from pain to find peace. And through your steady, silent, resilient presence, you become a living invitation for others to step out of their invisible cages, not by preaching, not by forcing, but simply by living clearly, freely, uncompromisingly. Keep walking, no permission needed, no justifications required. Just be in your fullest, truest form, because that is the greatest gift you can offer to this world.